Today we are continuing our series called Stories. And in this series we are looking at stories that are primarily from all of you about what God is doing in you and through you, as well as how He is inviting you into some of the things we've been calling our church to this year. This year we want to be found faithful. That's our word for the year, is to be found faithful. And we want to be found faithful with our life. And in a few areas that we are inviting us all into it is what we're talking about today. So the first one we talked about 2 weeks ago, we talked about reading scripture together. We talked about the challenges of reading scripture, the joys, and then we talked about prayer last week. Today we are going to be talking about serving. And so I'm going to welcome up our storytellers for the day. They're going to come up and join me on the platform, and we're going to be talking just through some questions about what does it look like to live a life of being a servant. So come on up, everybody. Can you welcome them up as they come? So as they come, I just want to encourage you all with, this is not because these are like the best servants of the entire house. This is just, there's some of the best for sure. Just know that each one of you is valuable, and God is using each one of you to build His kingdom. And that's why our vision here at Evergreen Church is Jesus changing lives through you. But there's some cool stories in each one of these people that I wanted you to be able to hear, and I think based off of where they're at in their life and what God is doing through them, I wanted you to get to hear some of the stories of how God is using them to influence the people that are around them. Serving is not simply what happens here in a building one day a week. Serving it's a posture, it's an attitude of being. It's who we are called to be, the type of person we're called to be. And so that it influences our decisions of what we do as a part of a church community, but it also influences our homes, it influences our workplaces, our businesses, and all of the spaces that we enter into, because we enter into them with a posture of being a servant. And so as we jump into this, I want everybody to get to meet you and hear a little bit about how you specifically serve here at Evergreen, just to kind of jump into it though. So would you tell us your name, how long you've been coming to Evergreen, and where are some of the areas that you serve within the ministry here?
Good morning. My name is Brock, and I've been coming here for about 9 years. And service for me here is, I think I've done almost everything you can to like cleaning the restrooms. I've set up chairs. I lead a mowing team in the summertime. This winter, I'll be leading the volunteers here for Evergreen Lights, which I'll be here 20 nights this month. So if you think you can't be here one night, come talk to me. But I've done production. I've served in the children's ministry. I've just tried to be a part of all of it. So
it's amazing.
I'm Katie.
I bet you'll never guess where she serves. With the youth.
Those are kids?
The youths. I have been coming here for 1.5 years, and my husband now comes with me regularly. And I got him to serve. The very first time he came here actually wasn't at a service, it was to serve at Christmas Lights last year. And now he comes all the time and greets at the door with me. And he was very nervous about that, but Caleb just said, "Do you know how to say hello?" And so I say hello, and he just says, "Hello to you as well." So anybody can do it. So I greet at the door. I've done alpha tables and now youth group, which is the best, obviously. Yeah.
And what's fun about Colin and Katie is, I met Colin for the first time at Lights. He was serving out the ornament arches. He didn't want to stand at the main tunnel because he was like, that's too much pressure. And so we put him out by the ornament arches, and I just got to know him and Katie a little bit more. And this year, they also joined the lights setup team that happens on Wednesday nights. And this last Wednesday, I was there, and I was like, Colin, who would have thought last year out by those ornament arches that you'd be here this year serving so many nights to help make the lights happen? And it's pretty cool what God's doing in your home.
Wonderful. And I'm Lauren. I started at Evergreen at the end. I started with Evergreen at the end of my middle school years. So it's been about 12 or 13 years. And I'm 27 now, so that's great. And I work with the kids ministry. Yeah. Yes, those cool parents out there. I see you, Janae.
Yeah, Lauren, she is, we met, she was a part of Danny and I, when we were youth pastors, she was a part of the youth ministry, and eventually, she went off to college, and we didn't see her for a while, and she came back, and one Sunday I saw her sitting with Taylor, who is a barista here at Cultures, and a faithful member of faithful member of our community, and they were walking out together. I was like, oh, you guys met. This is awesome. How'd you guys meet? And they're like, well, we're sisters. And I was like, mind blown, because I had known their stories totally separate, and then one day worlds collided. So grateful for you. And you may not know this, but Lauren has a full-time job where she does brilliant medical things. And then on top of that, she leads our kids ministry here. And she just, above and beyond, she loves your kids, and she has a passion to see them know Jesus. And so thank you, Lauren, for serving so faithfully here.
And I'm Jason. My family has been coming almost 12 years now. And we started, my wife and I started serving as greeters when Cultures was not Cultures. It was like this little office. And so we started there, and then since that time have done a whole bunch of things around, and more recently have been part of the worship team, as well as serving with my wife in Grief Share during this last season.
So what you're learning is don't start greeting, because you might end up doing more. So that's what we're seeing here. Just kidding. Maybe what we learned is start greeting, and then you'll never know where you're going to end up. That's maybe the better way to put it. Go for it, Tanya.
That's definitely better. My name's Tanya Ray, and I started coming to Evergreen when Pastor Philip started here 14 years ago. And I've served at Alpha. I've served at Christmas Lights. I did children's for a minute, and then thought better of that. I admire you.
Bless your heart, yeah. Bless your heart.
And I just realized when Caleb said sometimes it's things that we do in the church and outside of the church. My mom and I have a gift of hospitality. Yeah. And we love to have people, we love to feed people. I love to feed people. She loves to decorate the tables and make them beautiful. And I was thinking about this, that we've had over 32 different groups of people in our home just this year. So that is definitely a passion. I think one year I knew Brock because I served at Christmas Lights with him. And I said, hey, Brock, I want you and your wife to come for dinner, and I want you to bring 2 couples that are friends of yours that we didn't know. So I've had a few families that people show up and we're like, hi, don't know your name, but we get to know people from feeding them at home.
Yeah, you and Jen are a powerful duo of hospitality for sure. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so when we talk about serving, I want to just begin with kind of your heart to serve. What kind of drives you, or what do you love about serving?
So for me, I'm in recovery, and that really got me out of myself. So I was able to not be so selfish in the things that I wanted in life, lying, cheating, stealing, all the horrible things that an addiction would come with. But it got me out of myself, and I just really love being able to serve people, to bring joy to my heart. So yeah.
It's great.
I have received a lot in my life, and so I feel like it is good to not always be on the receiving end. And I had mentioned earlier that I had been at a church for years where I always went to go get fed, and so when I came here, I wanted to plug into the community and give back in any way. I didn't know exactly how I would do that, and so just kind of like use me, however. But I really enjoy serving here and at work or wherever, because just serving a need and making people's lives easier, and also helping people feel seen. And I think that that's probably fills a need that I had that maybe wasn't met previously. And so if I help other people feel seen, it makes me feel joy, you know. So, yeah.
I love it.
So there's two main reasons why I love to serve. For the first one, prior to actually serving, I was like on and off with coming to church. I was not coming here regularly every Sunday. And so I knew I wanted to serve because I wanted to keep myself disciplined. I knew I wanted to show up every week. And despite my want to do that, I would sometimes let, my tiredness or the amount of work I had to get done control the fact that I wasn't going to show up to church. And so the first reason why I love to serve is because it keeps me on track. It keeps me present, and it keeps me connected with people that are like-minded and people that have a good and safe heart. And then the second reason why I love to serve is because over the year that I've been serving, I've been able to see so many families and kids grow, and in different aspects of their life, whether it's with faith or whether it's just with their own confidence. And it's crazy to think that I've been able to be part of that journey for them, and I've been able to see them at different stages of their lives, and I'm very fortunate for that opportunity. So those are the two main reasons.
And what's so cool is that I feel like you have a great love for people, and especially kids, but it's cool to see what God has done through your heart for the volunteers, your heart for the parents, your heart for the kids, and that's making a profound impact in this whole ministry, because if you have kids in this room, it's influencing your kids. It's impacting their lives. And I know that my kids, they love to see you anytime they get to. And so thank you for what you're doing.
So I don't know if it's so much love to serve as it's just been kind of ingrained in me. So growing up, my dad served a lot in his work and such, and so just kind of picking it up from him in a way. And so as I've seen needs around me and just kind of jumping in, and because I believe that when we see a need, there's a reason that we see that need. And it could be the Holy Spirit prompting us to go and do something about that. Maybe somebody else doesn't see it. And then the thing that I really enjoy about that is that because I see that, God's given me unique talents, skills, and abilities to then go and mix that with that need and actually redeem that, from how it's broken, and add things to it and actually restore it back to how he originally created it to be. And so that to me is I guess kind of the love of it is mixing my talents and skills, the uniqueness that he's given me, into something that's broken and missing, and being able to restore that back to what he intended it to be.
That's so cool. And I love, like, in your story, you have had you're kind of like, I see the need, I'm available, but you've also like challenged yourself in like growing piano and things like that you didn't necessarily have the skill to be a part of the team when you first desired to, but you have worked and you've put an effort behind the scenes. And now for years and years and years, you've been a faithful worshiper, a part of our team through keyboards and bass and everything else. And it's cool to see how you didn't limit yourself based off of what your capacity was when you started, but you grew into it. And that's really cool.
Well, I get the pleasure of serving people every day. I'm a hairdresser by trade, so I get to love on people. I get to be in their bubbles. I get to pray for them without them knowing. Serving people is just part of who I am. when you are taking care of somebody else, you can't be in your own head. You can't feel sorry for yourself. You can't curl up in a ball and say, oh, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Because we are now taking all that focus that is on ourselves and we're putting it and taking care of somebody else. So I work behind the chair, about 32 hours a week. And then I come home and I bake for 450 firefighters for their birthdays. And once again, that's one of those things that you can't be in your own head when you're loving other people and taking care of other people. It brings great joy to me to do those things for other people, and I get more out of it than I think they do. I think I do anyway.
In your story specifically, how has serving been kind of an agent of healing in your life through things that you've walked through?
So on the 10th anniversary of 9/11, Pastor Phil the church was doing a service honoring first responders, and we were asked to adopt our local police and fire departments. They had a list. I chose the station in Linwood that had responded to a call from my dad when he had a heart attack and a stroke on the same day. So my dad and I both went to the station, and I gave them their cookies and their invitations, and my God voice said, adopt them for a year. Well, that was 14 years ago, and 16 stations later, they kept growing, and 2 months after that commitment, we had a situation in our family that turned everything I knew upside down, everything I thought I knew, it changed everything. And had I not been baking for firemen, the outcome of that would have been much different. Because of that commitment, I have a fabulous fire family that, through relationships, baking cakes, I have people that I call my family now. But it's all because I listened to that voice of God saying, I want you to do this. And that was serving what I thought was just going to be a few cakes a year. And now it's a lot more. And I wouldn't I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
You know, you recently had a birthday in which the firefighters all showed up, and all the hairdresser ladies were there. There's just so many family and people who were.
Do you know what I called that? Going to your funeral without having to die.
Hey, that was. I mean, could have been worse, right? But she got surprised. She wasn't ready for it, and you can't. It's a pretty tough task to pull one over on Tanya, but it happened. And what was so cool in that was to see how your love that you poured out in service of others, you had the gift of receiving back just a little taste of the love that you'd been pouring out. And it's amazing what happens when you love others well. They show up for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, Jesus, he talked about how to become the greatest. And, you know, everybody wants to be great in the world. And he said that to become great, you actually had to become the least. And he said, instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant. And whoever wants to be first must be slave to all. For even the Son of Man, this means even Jesus, did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. And that's ultimately what the heart of serving is that we want to be like Jesus. And so rather than seeking to be served, we seek to serve. But that changes how we think about ourselves when we come into it with a heart of service, or we ask God to develop in us a heart of being a servant. So for each of you, how have you seen serving change how you view yourself, but also how has it changed the way you view others?
I'd have to say serving for me has made me respect myself more from where I came, right, and love myself more because I'm out of myself, and I'm able to serve the people around me. How I view others is I don't know what they're going through this day as they walk through the door here, or the people that are going to come on the Christmas lights property, what those people are going to go through. So for me to be able to be there and be present to serve them in a way that, have a conversation, open a door at a grocery store, you maybe push the cart back for somebody, right? I mean, all those little things of service not only helps me, but it also, if I have my kids around, or my daughter, she sees me do that service, and it just overflows that way. So I just like that.
Yeah, there's a trickle-down effect when you pour it into your family, right? Yeah. That's good.
God showed up for me and continues to show up for me, but showed up for me in a time that was very challenging for me. And I think it's helpful for me to remember that when I show up to serve. And as I continue to serve, my view of other people has changed so much. My heart towards loving people has changed because I don't put myself at the center as much as I used to. I said it earlier, I feel like I was so much more self-centered at the beginning of my journey with Christ, and so entitled, always with my hands out, asking to receive something. And as I've become more and more aware of how I've truly been saved, I think it's really changed how I see other people and how I want to give back to them the way that Jesus has given to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So since serving, one of the biggest things that has changed my life is just the redirection of my negative mindset. I feel as if we all go Monday through Friday working and stressing about various things, and then being able to step into the kids ministry, I've been able to be surrounded around so many great children that are so full of life and so positive, and it helps show me that, your life is going to keep going on, but you have to be able to enjoy it the same way the kids do, and realize that there's so much more to life than the little things. And it fills me, and it kind of reminds me of what I'm called to do, and how we are supposed to mingle and connect with each other. And so serving has really helped me reset every week, honestly, reset that Monday through Friday negative mindset and then get myself back to where I want to be. And then it also has made me more patient and more open to receiving different types of people in my life. I feel as if, we are not made to instantly connect with everybody that we meet, especially in the workforce, but it's given me the opportunity to give people more grace and be an extra support system for them, even when they don't ask for it. Because here at church, people are pretty open about the things they're going through or their challenges or their emotions, but to coworkers, that's not always the case. And so sometimes people don't know how to ask for help or support or receiving. So being that kind of, like Tanya was saying, was just being there for the backside, even when they don't ask for it.
It's so cool how you're talking about it's changed how you interact with your coworkers, right? And you're almost viewing how can I serve you as well, even though I don't know what's going on in your life. It's so cool.
So the thing that for me has changed me is it's given me more of a responsibility or a sense of responsibility to be with people. And so leading from the platform has given me that responsibility is to go out and to be a part of other things. That it's not just, this one thing and then you go home. It's a responsibility for getting to know people, getting to be around people. And there was even a time where I took a step back and it's like, oh, hey, there's other things to do around here, right? So the responsibility is more for the house in a way than just doing this one thing. And the way that's changed the way that I view people is that it's we're all in this together. So as I'm looking around, the room and people that I know, it's like we're all trying to follow Christ with our unique skills, talents, abilities, and in this unique circumstances that we have. And that I have a lot to learn from everybody that's in the room. And so that openness to, be engaged and be honest with others as they're honest with me, but just there's a lot to learn from others and viewing, kind of that ability to, I can learn from you. And
I think that's where like Jesus talks about like we must humble ourselves and become a servant. What you're describing there is humility, is you have something that I can learn from. Like I can learn something from you. I don't have all the answers. You don't just need to learn from me. But how can I serve you? How can I learn from you? That's a beautiful posture of humility.
The fact that for 43 years, I've served people. That's what I do every day. So it changed me. Because that's the easiest way for me to show people who Jesus is, by loving them. And when you look at the Bible and you look at Jesus' life, all he did was he served other people. And I view others differently because I pray every morning, okay, give me the strength to do what you need me to do today. And I try to be observant. That's why it's hard to surprise me because my mom might say I'm nosy. I say I'm observant.
Observant,
So
yeah.
I pay attention to things around me. And I always want to show Jesus' love. It's one thing to be a Christian and to tell people about Christ or to bring them to church or do that. But when we are serving people and we're living our life like Jesus lived his life and we love people like Jesus loved people, then that light shines through us automatically and they want to know. They're drawn to that. They want to know what it is that's different. What's different about her? Why is she always so happy? I'm positive. My mother calls me Pollyanna. Because loving people is what Jesus did. That's how he drew people to him, is by loving them and serving them. So that's why I try to do that on a daily basis.
I was just thinking as you were sharing that, like the way you love people, Tanya has the gift of invitation, and her invitations are often accepted and followed through with, which, sometimes she'll fill up an entire row of people that she's compelled to be here. And why are those so effective? It's because she loves so well outside of this building, that when she invites somebody to something, they know that it's out of love that she invites them. And so that's one of your great superpowers that God's given you, is all the hard work, the effort, and all of that. It displays God's love through you, but then when you invite people to come and encounter God's love, not just through you, but for themselves, there's openness to that because of how you've lived your life the rest of the time. And so, well done. There's days though, and maybe I'm speaking just for myself here and maybe not for all of you and all of you, but I don't know about you all, but there's days where I don't want to serve. Like, it'd be really nice if I wasn't a pastor, it's just, Sundays come around with a very consistent frequency, and I'm expected to be the expert and be perfect and all of these things, right? It's hard. It's a weight. And I'm not dismissing my calling of what God has asked me to do, but it's just recognizing that there's times where serving is not fun. It's not easy, and you'd much rather be served than to serve, right? And so sometimes there's these barriers that keep us from serving, that from living the way that God really wants us to. And I'd love to know from your guys' perspective and your experience, what were some of the biggest barriers to serving others that you've experienced? It could be, it could be a mindset, it could be time or tiredness or work or something else. But what are some of those barriers? And then how have you been able to keep a heart of service, even in the midst of the realities that serving others is not always fun or easy?
Yeah, so work, weather, tired, kids, everything else that I have an excuse to be here, right? Internally, for me, when I encountered the Lord 15 years ago in my recovery journey, I knew I would drive to Tacoma at 4:30 in the afternoon to get some drugs or, do whatever, right? So I know I would be here again at 8:30 in the morning to serve, because it just means a lot, right? It was, for me to do something that was out of myself every day, it just changed me inside, right? I was selfish and would do everything possible to make Brock happy, but when I was able to get out of myself and walk through the doors of the church and serve and greet and mow the lawn. I mean, what a better feeling to mow a lawn on an August day with your headphones on and just be out there for an hour by yourself, knowing that people probably don't know that volunteers mow the lawn, right? And they wonder, gosh, how does that lawn look so good? And why do you wreck it every December?
Why do you wreck it every December?
At that time. But yeah, so I feel like serving for me, it just got me out of myself, because I know there was things that I would do in my old life, no matter what it took to get there, that I feel like I could get out of my bed to get to here to serve, or in the evening or whatever it is. So
That's good.
Before I started serving consistently, I think the biggest barrier was lies inside my head telling me that I didn't have anything to contribute, probably. But that is the enemy. We all have something to contribute. And when I started coming here, Dean just told me what to do. So I accept.
Everybody needs a dean.
I don't know what's best for me. So I just did what I was told, and it was very fun. And then once I started serving consistently, work is a big barrier. I travel a lot, and so if I am physically in a different state, I can't be here, and that makes me feel very guilty. But I think the other is, like you said, some days you just don't want to, and some days I just have a really bad attitude. And the funny thing is, as soon as I walk through the doors, my attitude changes. And if it doesn't automatically change, as soon as I start talking with people, especially when I show up on Sunday nights, my attitude shifts immediately. It's just so much fun. It's kind of, like I said earlier, it's like going to the gym. Like, nobody wants to work out, ever. But as soon as you're doing it, or as soon as it's done, you're so glad you did. So
That's good.
So prior to serving, I had this idea in my head that in order to serve, you had basically a set list of requirements, whether that's how long you've been walking in faith, whether that's how long you've been part of this church, or whether you have been baptized, or whatever it is, the set list of requirements in order to serve. That's never been the case, but in my head, that's what I made up. And also on top of that, I had thought, okay, well, when serving, you have to commit to X amount of days or X amount of hours. And it was a very boxed in idea. After serving, I quickly realized that was not the case, that the church and the members of this church understand that everybody here is just a human being. Life gets in the way, and they may encourage to serve once a month, but if you can only do once a quarter, that's once a quarter. Everybody is here to support you, and that's something I had to learn as I started serving, is that lean on people, and don't be scared to say this is too much, or I want more serving, or this isn't the space for me to serve. And so, yeah, I think just really getting comfortable with being uncomfortable and trying new things was a big thing, and learning about what it means to serve was a challenge for me.
And I think what you're describing is that idea that we're all kind of in this together, like, in that you aren't the only person that can fill that role. At the same point, we can't use it as that excuse of like, well, somebody else is going to do it. Like, God wants to use all of us, and that invitation is always there for us to step into serving. And I love that posture.
So, similarly, the biggest barrier for me is just my own mindset, like making an excuse. You know, you got kids at home, you got your job, you got, teaching, you got all these other things. And the way that I've overcome that is by, one, making it a priority, but also scheduling it in. So it's part of my schedule, whether it's weekly, however that works. And so, ahead of time, I'm like, okay, this is where I'm going to be or whatever, and just scheduling it in as how I've overcome that. When it's hard, I think it gets to where James 2:18, it says, I will show you my faith by my works. And it's not that we earn our faith, we're not doing it to that, but showing. And the idea of being able to show myself my faith and others. And in particular, 2.5 years ago or so, our oldest daughter, Tiana, passed away. And it was on a Friday, and I was scheduled to serve on that Sunday. And Cameron was the worship pastor at that time, and so it was like, and I saw him that Friday night, and came in, and he said, I'm not going to tell you yet, to not do this, right? I'm just going to give you the space to do that. And by the way, that's true of anybody, there's space to do that here. And I thought about it. I kind of prayed and said, I need to go do this. And so showed up on Sunday and played through the set and everything. And it was really, for me, a time where it was a place that I could proclaim God's promises over my life and proclaim those words that we were singing, so that, the things that I had said, that I believed, I really knew in myself that I believed in showing up. And that there were people around that, not everybody knew, but there were some people that knew. And there was a lot of just grace and love and mercy. And then, also the other thing is, showing others. And so, by going and, looking at your schedule, looking at, whatever you do, you're able to show others, I spend time here, I do this because that's my faith. This was important to me at the same time. And so, just reminding myself of who I am and what I believe, and then, others as well.
And I think even like that posture you came with on that Sunday was not a posture of, I need to be seen being holy, in the midst of this grief. It was a posture that we encourage our whole worship team to have, is that it's not a performance. We're here, we're worshipers, right? And the invitation for all of our team to just simply be worshipers. And in a moment like that, in the midst of extreme grief, what better thing could you have done than to worship God?
Yeah. And it was really a thing for me,
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And having that space, like, I need to be here and do this. And it wasn't for anybody else, but it was kind of selfish that Sunday. So.
I think Jesus saw your heart. He knew what you meant. It's beautiful.
The biggest barrier is time. It's always time. We never have enough time for the things we want to do. But the things that are important, we always make time for. I remember coming home after holidays. Hairdressers are weird. I'm always busy, but I'm really busy in the holidays time. And then, come home, throw a cake in the oven and say, okay, Mom, take the cake out of the oven. At such and such a time, I got to go serve at lights, and there's pouring sideways rain, and it's not going to be a lot of people, and you could just bow out because nobody's going to show up to the Christmas lights when the weather's like this, but you go anyway. And I remember 2 years ago, it was the first time I'd ever heard of the atmospheric river.
Yeah.
And it was sheets of rain, and I had a hood that used to be waterproof and became unwaterproofed. And it was soaked through, and Caleb had a pink umbrella.
It's what I could find, okay? It's what I could find.
But we had so much fun. It was one of the best Christmas nights, and powering through is basically remembering the joy that you see on people's faces, or working an 8-hour day and then coming home and baking 3 cakes and having to get up early because you have 4 deliveries before you have to be at work at 9 o'clock. And the look on the firefighter's face when you show up with cake in the morning, it's like, it's all worth it. You do it because of how it affects other people. And when you see the joy in other people's faces and making somebody feel beautiful. I had a client on Friday, and she came in, she goes, I'm having such a tough day. And she texted me after she got done. She goes, thank you so much. I feel so much better. I'm going through this dreary, ugly day, but I feel great. Thank you so much for loving me. And when you get reactions like that, it's a no-brainer. You just do it.
All right, let's talk about the pink umbrella in the room. I'm just going to say, it's what I found, and it did. It was so fun. I see a few other friends that were there that night, and we were laughing, and we just tried to have as much fun as possible. But what was so cool is people still came. Like, people come every single night. And even if there's less people, it actually gives you even better conversations with people, and lives were transformed. And on the outside of it, those people felt loved because they knew that it was not fun for the volunteers to be standing out there in the rain. And what a more beautiful way, more practical way for us to show people that God loves them by showing up, being faithful, and singing in the rain. Okay. In Ephesians 6, it talks about serving wholeheartedly as if you were serving the Lord, not people. And I think for me, that's been one of the biggest things that's helped me to overcome this mindset of like, this is a challenge, to recognize that I am not serving people alone. I'm doing this to serve God. And that goes, okay, I can push through this a little bit longer. I can make it through this uncomfortable situation. I can keep showing up because I want to serve God and God alone. So let me ask you this. How has a heart to be a servant of God changed the way that you serve others outside of Evergreen, in your home, in your work, in your community? I know you've all kind of mentioned some of these areas, but are there any other ones that maybe you haven't mentioned that you'd like to share about how this has impacted the way you serve outside of Evergreen Church?
I work in a service-oriented role. I am a servant. And I love being able to help people succeed in their jobs and not have to be the center, and kind of back off and help them do well. And I have had people ask me why I do as much as I do for them and never ask for any credit. And it has been an opportunity for me to say it's my faith, and it's an opportunity to reflect the light of God. And I work in the tech space, so as you can imagine, it's very secular. So you're not really allowed to mention the Lord. But so any opportunity I have to reflect the light of God is great. But I do think that in previous roles, I did put myself more at the center. Even if I was serving, I was looking for recognition and thanks, and which is wrong. But now I kind of like to back off and help lift those people up, and I hadn't realized that shift had happened, so that's good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I've also kind of already touched on how I've been able to help serve people outside of Evergreen, but just to add a few other things is, one, I'm more willing to go into serving situations blindly. Like, if I don't know the outcome, I have been more willing to just take that leap of faith and kind of just trust that, I don't know what can come out of this, but I'm just going to try it. Where I know right now, working in the kids ministry, I know relatively what I'm going to get out of it. I'm going to see happy kids and relationships with families grow, but in situations outside of Evergreen, I am put into a space where it is unknown for me. And I'm more willing to step into them and just kind of take it and see what happens. But I guess technically I am part of Evergreen, but outside of Evergreen, I have started to be a servant to myself as well. I've started to make sure that I'm making myself a priority in my life, and you can give to others, but if you're not serving yourself, you can't serve others mentally and physically. And so making sure that I am putting a lot of time and effort into being the best version of myself, so that way I can help, bring that to other people when I'm back at church and in other situations, has been very important for me.
Commit to
I get so much out of the things that are taught in this church, and I think about during COVID when everybody was so isolated, and I remember people talking about how lonely they were and the lack of community, and serving people in every aspect of your life. I love challenging myself when I go to the grocery store, and when you bake a lot, you go to the grocery store a lot. Costco, they know me by face, and because I'm there every week, my phone tells me, when I get off work on Fridays, 13 minutes to business, Costco, because that's where I go every Friday. But just being able to see the people that are moving the carts in the pouring rain and say, thank you so much for what you do, because, and just seeing people where they're at and acknowledging them, that's what I've learned from serving here, that if I do, because this is the friendliest church I've ever been in, and when you bring that love and that Jesus love to every aspect of your life outside of what we do here, we have no idea how that affects people. And I guess that's loving people outside, acknowledging people, seeing people, and not just being in our own little bubble with blinders, especially during the holidays. It's so easy just to, be focused on what we have to do. But I try to be observant and look at the people around me and just acknowledge them.
That's so good. Jason, can I ask you a specific one? With your family, I know your daughters serve in the kids ministry a lot. They serve all over the place. Obviously, the heart of serving that was passed down to you from your dad is now being passed down into the next generation as well. How have you made this a priority in your home, as well as not just a to-do list, but something that is enjoyed and desired to be done?
Yeah, so the first time we came here, again about 12 years ago, we were sitting kind of in the middle, and the first words out of Pastor Phil's mouth was ni hao, which was hello in Chinese. And I had 4 little adopted Chinese girls sitting right next to me. And I was like, I'm home. And so from that point, it was just like, okay, I don't need, we're here, right? And so just jumping in from that point on. And so they have not, I asked Amaris, who's 15, about this, and she's like, consistently showing up every week, being faithful to a place. This has always been a place where, we know people and are known by people. And so that makes it a place that the girls want to come because they have friends, they know people, and they're able to do things. And so, logistically, we're super close. We're just like 2 miles from here, so it makes it very easy to serve. And the other thing is like doing things together. So if mom needs a break, dad and the girls go, or there's a couple girls that come. Patty and I have started serving together in Grief Share this last season. So And then I think one of the other things is just not forcing it. To say, okay, it's okay if you don't come this time. Now we're not gonna make that a habit that you don't come, but it's okay this one time. And I think also the other thing is that, because I think as Brock was saying, or we've all been saying, that there's all these places to serve. And one of the things, we've had one of the girls who's done lyrics in the back, or youth, they're helping out singing and stuff. And so for us, it's again a place where they're known, and there's lots of opportunities for them to explore who they are in Christ and what they might be doing to kind of redeem the world with their talents and skills. And so I think it's the consistency, the faithfulness, and just committing to a place, and then just showing up consistently.
So good. That's good. All right. One more question, and I'm going to ask it, and if I could just, you guys can fight over it, but we'll just have a few of you answer this one. But the challenge that we find in our world is that our needs are never ending. Like, it always feels like there is more than what we can solve on our own. And even Jesus, there's a time where he feeds the 5,000, and then the next day they come back and they're like, could you feed us again? And he's kind of like, okay, I didn't come here for that. I came to give you the bread of life. And he points to who he is. But it can be so hard to see needs in our world and to not feel capable of fulfilling or supporting or helping all of them. So how do you kind of decide who or what or when? How do I serve in all of these situations that sometimes can feel like there's a never-ending need? She reached for it. Yeah. Go for it, Lauren.
Go.
Okay, so first I like to take a moment to sit down and realize that we are a community, and what that means is that it takes all of us in order to make this place functional, that not one person is responsible for the Christmas lights, not one person is responsible for worship going well. It takes all of us in order to make the magic happen. And I think that taking that out of your own responsibilities and making it like a community's responsibility helps take the weight off. But from there, I like to also think about, okay, well, there's so many things to get done. But if I pour and I decide to serve in one area, does that have the ability to help make other servants, and then other servants, and go on and so on and so forth? And so figuring out what has potential to rapidly grow and help fill some of those gaps, but also recognizing that it's not your own problem to solve. And so praying about it and reaching out to the community is always a good solution.
That's good. One more, Brock?
Yeah, I'll say something. So I feel when I came to the church, I was met in the most broken place of my life. And I don't know where people are today in their lives, but if you come to the church and you serve, it just allows us to find a purpose in our life. And I think there's a lot here to offer. Like she was saying, there's the tech team, there's the greeters, the camera guys, that it takes an army to do this. And I know that everybody here has a purpose within them, even though they may not know what that is, right? And if you have a question of what might be your purpose, whether it be set up chairs or, take these couches off after service or whatever it is, please come talk to somebody, because we can help guide you to that. But I think just service, getting out of ourselves is what makes the church great. I remember at my Alpha table, we had the last session is what to do next in beyond this in the church or whatever. And, a couple of guys were just I don't know where to serve, I don't know. And I said, well, when you're having a bad day, just show up to Christmas lights, right? It's going to change your mind. It's going to, even if it's raining, or we have ponchos, we have umbrellas, we have warm coats, we have hand warmers. Don't be afraid of what Tanya's trying to paint a picture of. But because it is fun, and just if you're having a bad day, just show up and just serve for a couple hours that night. It will really change who you are inside. Yeah.
It's so good. I think the reality for what it means to be a part of a church, again, it doesn't mean that you simply attend on a Sunday, but it's being a part. It's giving back. It's serving, right? And we like to say here at Evergreen, everything that happens here is by our service, our generosity, and our prayer. And obviously, all of those things simply just invite Jesus into our lives. And ultimately, Jesus is the one who does the work. But those create an opportunity inside of us and openness inside of us for God to do something in us. And so I just encourage you, ponder, how could I step into serving, whether that's baking cookies, whether that's serving at the lights, whether that's loving kids in our kids ministry, holding babies in the infant room, whatever the method is, begins somewhere. And you'll find from each one of their stories, none of them are serving where they first started, but they started somewhere. And an invitation is to think, where could I begin? And then through that, your gifts come out, your talents come out. We find better fits for you over time. And we find that through that, Jesus changes lives through you. And so thank you for being a part of Evergreen Church. Thank you for building this ministry with us, for serving, for giving into this ministry, for praying with us. And I'm just anticipating what God wants to do in and through us as a community, not just through this December season, but beyond that, the fruit of the lives that are changed, that are going to happen because we simply showed up and said yes. Can I pray over you all as we wrap up our time together? Jesus, I thank you for each person in this room. And Lord, thank you for these beautiful stories of what you are doing through just some of our church. And Lord, we know that you are at work in so many more areas, and that you are calling each one of us to step out in faith to serve in some form or fashion. So Lord, as we say yes to you, as we come to you in thanksgiving, as we come to you in gratitude that you, Jesus, came to serve us, Lord, let us live a life that is modeled after you beyond that, to be somebody who serves, to be somebody who says yes, to be somebody who says, here am I, send me. And Lord, would we see even more needs than we know of now being answered by our simple yes. And would you use each one of us, the love that you've placed inside of us, to shine brightly for you here at Evergreen Church, in our homes, and all around the world. We thank you. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. Would you guys thank our amazing storytellers today? Thank you, thank you, thank you.